to preview our game against West Ham this weekend, and we'll start off with Alan from Sky.
Frank, good afternoon. I know we all understand the circumstances around last week's postponement, but given your battling draw against Liverpool, would you have preferred to have played Arsenal?
I just think it was the right thing to do. It's my personal opinion. I think in the circumstances, I thought it was right that football, the Premier League, took a pause for the weekend out of respect. So I think that sort of obviously supersedes any idea of us playing Arsenal, what that might have meant. I thought it was the right thing to do and that decision was obviously taken for us, and I thought it was right.
It's a strange period, really, isn't it, with having no game last week, the game coming this weekend, then the international break, and then you're going to cram a load of games into October. It just seems crazy.
Yeah, I mean, we've lost one game, haven't we? As I say, I think that was the right thing, and so the schedule is kind of what it is. I know some teams are losing another game, but from our point of view, October was always going to be a bit busier. The World Cup's in the middle of the season this year, so we have to adapt around that, and at some point us or other teams will be playing catch up. I've been used to that all my career, busy schedules in different ways, so let's just hope that we find a way that feels the fairest for everybody.
You've had a lot to deal with in terms of injuries, not been kind to since your time at Everton, really. Now Jordan Pickford, how big a loss is that given his performance as well against Liverpool? Well,
it's a really big loss because we all know what a great goalkeeper Jordan is for us, great performer, big personality. We're fortunate to have a very strong number two in Begovic at the club, who trains brilliantly, performs brilliantly, and is a number one for me in terms of his performance levels anyway. So that's a plus that we can have that, and that's a real strength of ours within the squad and the mini squad of keepers that we have. So we just hope Jordan gets back off the other end of the international break. We're hoping so, with the injury that it is, and we'll have him back then.
So you brought in additional cover. That's a short-term contract for Eldon.
Yes.
How close is Dominic Calvert-Lewin to a return?
Well, close, and we'll see come Sunday whether he's ready to start a game or not. Have to be careful with him, obviously, because he had a difficult injury, so we'll see for the weekend.
I mean, that extra week, I suppose, given the international break, could make a big difference.
Yeah, possibly. And there's a lot of footballing reasons for us that we've brought together. We've made a lot of changes. When you look at the makeup of our team now, squad, you look at the team that finished against Liverpool compared to a lot of the teams last year, from the start of last season or during last season. So the work starts here for us on a lot of fronts, and talking about Garner Gay, I'm talking about James Garner, I'm talking about players that are fresh into the team late in the window, Amadou and Anna. So training weeks and possibilities are always good for us on a few different levels.
Neil Maupay, how did you assess his debut? He almost won it for you, didn't he, the Merseyside job?
Yeah, he did, and that's why we brought him to the club. We knew we were in need of a striker and a number 9 and a box player. He's more than just a box player, but he certainly has proven himself to be a finisher in the Premier League and a year in the Championship, scoring many goals. So really pleased with him in his debut. Worked really hard. Difficult game against Liverpool, the strength of them, and he's trained well since. So I think he's a really good addition, and really settled into the group very well as well.
Longer term, do you see him forming a partnership with Dominic Calvert-Lewin? Is that the plan?
No, it's not the plan. I think it's we'll see. It gives us different options to look at our formation in different ways.
You may not have won yet, but 4 successive draws shows that you're becoming a hard side to beat. Is that the basis for a real solid foundation for you?
Well, we hope so. From where we were and analysing last season, and obviously the joy of staying in the Premier League, but then the reality of where do we want to move forward, I think you have to start with the base of the team and the core of the team, probably. So I think we've added there through the spine of the team, and we've deserved more points than what we've got. I think that feels pretty clear within the camp, but it doesn't mean anything. We just have to sort of look at what's ahead of us, but it's been a nice feeling so far to feel the confidence of feeling solid and feel like we're growing and going in the right direction. And as I said before, the work starts here now for us because of the way we've put the squad together. It takes time, certain elements of the team, to grow, and if you can keep more clean sheets or be more tight and more difficult to beat, then that's obviously a big starting point for us.
What have you made of West Ham so far this season? They have been beaten 4 times already in the Premier League and struggling for goals.
Yeah, I don't make too much of that. It's obviously the start. You look at the table and in those first 6 to 10 games potentially. People are jockeying and for different reasons. I'm sure David Moyes would have a lot of answers for those reasons. It's always hard from the outside to look in and understand the details in anybody's job. All I know is that they've got a great coach and a very talented team, which have shown over the last 18 months. Lots of good individuals, dangerous team. Coming away from home, they're very good at being organised and have a real threat on the counter-attack and set pieces and speed in their team. So there's a lot of threats to West Ham. I don't look at their form and see anything other than a strong team that will be a really dangerous opponent.
Does it help you that they played in Europe on Thursday night?
I'm not sure. We'll see. Those things are always spoken about before the game, and as much as they've played a game, you may say we haven't played a game for a while. What does that mean? We've had to sort of find a schedule of days off, good training, making sure that we're hitting the right limits to keep ourselves at match fitness. We'll try and show that on Sunday.
I just found out player injuries at Abdoulaye Doucouré anywhere near closer to.
Yeah, Dukes is fine. Dukes is fit to be in the squad.
Any others?
No, we're where we were. Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks, Al. We'll go to
Cheers.
Simon.
David Moyes has been saying lots of nice things about this football club, with obviously having spent a lot of time here. Do you still have those sorts of feelings for West Ham, given where you have come from as well?
Yeah, every situation is different. I also, everyone speaks here very highly of David Moyes, and from top to bottom, to be fair. So I respect that, and I'd like to say that as well, because I think he put down a lot of values and ethics at this club, which I think are very good, and we can rely on to this day as well. I've got complete respect for West Ham. I came through as a young man there, young boy actually. I was a West Ham fan, came through the academy and moved on to Chelsea, and Chelsea obviously became my club as such as a player in my playing career, but very thankful to people like particularly Harry Redknapp, who gave me my opportunity in the first team, Tony Carr, who helped me massively in the youth team there in the academy, who helped not just myself but numerous players that have come on and gone on to do great things in the Premier League and internationally. So I'll never forget those things.
And I know you alluded to the start that I suppose both of you had, results-wise at least anyway. Does that add to everything that goes around this game, the fact that I think you've got one win in the Premier League at least between you so far?
It's just what it is. I don't think it adds or takes away. It is what it is. This Premier League is tough. Every game has a lot on it for different reasons. You can always find little side stories around games. At the end of the day, they're a quality team coming. We feel confident in ourselves at the minute with the way we're playing. I think we're confident at Goodison. We haven't probably got the rub of the green at Goodison that we got at times last year. That's fine. We just need to keep working in the right direction and believe that will come.
I know you mentioned with Alan in terms of sort of playing fitness, shall we say, when you've not got those games. How does it work then with goalkeepers? I know we saw Asmir against Fleetwood in the League Cup game. So how ready do you have to be, I suppose, mentally as much as anything, and how do you flick that switch?
Well, Asmir is a very experienced goalkeeper, which is a big plus for us, and he now has had a good look at this now. We knew that Jordan wasn't going to be available at Arsenal, and now so we've had some time, so he's had plenty of time to get his mind in gear. I think he's always ready, basically, and trains at a high level, as I said before, so I've got no worries. I think you could ask Asmir to play 30 minutes before a game and he'll be ready for you because of how he is and the talent that he has.
And just finally, if I may, obviously a gap between the games after this one as well.
Mm.
What are your plans for that? You lose quite a lot. Will there be days off? Is everybody, and how will it work?
Yeah, a mixture. We lose some, and some go away internationally, as we know, and some that stay. Some will need fitness still at that early stage of the season, but the players also will get some days off. It's a long period just to continue working. You have to get balance to it, as we always will do. So we'll get the best schedule and best solution.
Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Go to James Mountford at Radio Merseyside.
Hi there, Frank.
Hi.
Can I just check on the other injured players for potentially after the international break? How hopeful are you, the likes of Jordan and Yerry and Mason?
Well, Jordan, we hope to be fit. We're looking at Southampton, Manchester United. Good on a good side, Southampton. We hope on a not so good side, Manchester United. It's a muscle injury, so we have to be a bit careful in the rehab. So we'll keep just monitoring that throughout. Yerry won't be fit for a few weeks after we come back from international break, and probably at a similar sort of time frame to what Mason is, a couple of weeks after international break. Difficult injuries, both of them in different ways, so they won't be in that batch of games immediately after the break.
Just on Dominic Calvert-Lewin, when you're coming back from an injury, would you have any advice for him in the sense that there will be a bit of pressure on him? Does he have to be patient?
Yeah, I mean, he's a top level striker. I think he's felt all that. He had a lot of that last season, so he knows he's got support and advice from me on that. And I try not to give him that pressure. On top of that, I just try to talk football with him, and I know what he can give us because he gave it to us at the back end of last season. So he's experienced enough to deal with it. And all we want is a Dominic fit and firing. And it's difficult with injuries because it can very easily happen where you get over one and another one comes. It can be a small phase in your career at times, and not for the want of trying to find every solution. And he's had that period. So I just hope to see him playing regular football, and he's certainly getting not any undue pressure from myself or the staff. We just work with him and want to see him in the best condition, and then he can help us.
And talking of regular football, Nathan Patterson is back in the Scotland squad, and Steve Clarke's been talking about how he's got that regular football here at Everton. How impressed have you been for the first few games?
Really impressed, and I think he's been in the Scotland squad for a while now and playing well, and obviously his injury halted that slightly for Scotland and for us, just as he was about to make his debut for us. But I think his start to the season has been great. He needs to continue in the same way. I think there's a lot more to come because he's such a young, developing player at the same time. But what he's been doing, I can't fault at the moment, and just want to help him get better, create more assists. He's very good at joining in going forward. We've seen that in parts of his game. Defensively, I've been really pleased with the discipline, 1v1 defending against some top-class attacking players. So we'll just keep working with him, but I'm very happy.
And have you considered who your captain might be should Seamus not make the first 11?
Yes, you'll find out. Thanks.
Thanks, James. We'll go to Alistair McGowan at BBC.
Hi Frank, Connor Cody back in the England squad as well. Just wondered how you'd reflect on his performances so far this season, and that's what's he reward for them.
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding for us since he's come in. Not easy to come in. I think he came in the week preceding Aston Villa, second game. Settled into the group brilliantly in the dressing room. I'd heard a lot of stories about Connor's attitude and behaviour, personality, all those things, and it's been a huge plus for us on that front, I have to say. Proper professional, affects others around him. He's performed really well on the pitch. People always associate him with the back five. We played a back four in the last two games. Him and James have been great and consistent in the pairing so far, and we have competition behind them, Michael Keane, etc. But Connor himself has had a really strong start, and at the moment a pleasure to work with him.
Also, Anthony Gordon's been called into the under-21 squad today, I think it was this morning. Obviously there's a lot of flux around him in the summer. I just wondered, have you been at a stage where you're having contract talks with him, or is it the club looking to offer him a new contract?
Yeah, the club are speaking with Anthony and Anthony's people to see if we can get the right solution there.
Yeah. And going into this bit, I think it's only yourselves and Leicester who haven't won a game so far. Just wondered, if you get to the international break and you still haven't won a game, how frustrating will that be for you?
Well, I wouldn't use the word frustrating because it is what it is, and I've explained that week in, week out. I would be more frustrated if I felt performances were in a position where we weren't so happy and couldn't see something at times last year when I came in with fighting for solutions and trying to see which way the team's going. And now I feel that we can really see a strength within the team, and sometimes it takes time to translate into direct results from performance. Of course, we want to win on Sunday. But I think we have to remain patient either way because of the things I keep saying, bringing the squad together and playing in the right direction, and then results should be a consequence of that. So I'm not overly concerned, but of course we're here to win football matches.
And just last of all, you may have seen Todd Bowley this week suggested an all-star game for the Premier League. A few people have been reacting to that. I just wondered what your thoughts were on that.
Well, I think practically it's very difficult because of our calendar and our schedule here. We play so many games. Players are contracted to the team, so to go and play a game like that is probably a high-risk game in terms of potential injuries to big players. But I don't quite see the sort of the reaction of a smirk and a laugh as if it's a ridiculous idea. I think we should always look at ways of bringing our game forward. And I played in America for 18 months, and when you're in it, you maybe see some things you think, that could work back home. Maybe that wouldn't translate like that would. So I think it's a fair conversation. And when you start thinking of the players that would be involved, you go, wow, yeah, that would be interesting. But I think the practicalities could be difficult. But we think if we can try and find ways to improve the game at all times whilst keeping our own traditions, I think that's a fine balance. But it's like in the modern day, one statement like that, and it's a week's worth of chat on radio and media outlets, and that's fair play, I suppose.
Did you play anything like that?
I was injured at the time of the All-Star game. Whether I'd have been selected, I don't know. I was injured. It was in my early days, and as I say, I've watched it, and maybe in other sports. I think the MLS in itself, but I've watched some of the other sports, their mainline sports out there, and it's great entertainment. And again, it's whether that translates to our game and our culture. But I don't think it's the worst conversation to have. Thanks.
We'll just go to Carl at the Press Association.
Hi Frank, just one final one on Dominic. You said you're not putting any pressure on him on his return. I'm just wondering, for the fans who have seen so little of him over the last 12 months, is there a management expectations on their part about what he's going to produce in the first few weeks of coming back?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard, isn't it? Because whenever Dominic's fit or he's not fit, I get asked a lot of questions within the press conference about it, and it kind of builds it all up. And at the end of the day, Dominic's a young lad who wants desperate to play football for this club and for his country. Hopefully, after that. So I don't know. I don't know. The fans are expecting, but I think they're expecting the team to do well with Dominic or no Dominic. They want the best players in the squad and in the team. I completely understand that, but I'm not here to sort of sit and just speak Dominic all the time. Of course, I want him fit. We saw what he can bring to the team. I know what he's previously brought to the team in previous seasons here when he has been fit. So let's all work in the right direction to get him fit and maybe release some of that pressure by hopefully the squad and the team being strong with or without Dominic.
Thanks, Carl. Any further questions in the open section? Will?
Hi Frank, just on James Garner, have to obviously let him out for the Liverpool game. He's had 2 weeks to get fit now. How's he looking in terms of Sunday?
Yeah, good. He's trained really well, and I'm a big fan of his as a player. I was really pleased that we've been able to bring him to the club because I watched him a lot, particularly last season. I like his attributes as a midfield player, and I'm really happy to meet him as a lad. Trained really hard. He's now fit for selection, and he gives us another option in midfield and a different type of option with his qualities. So yeah, he's ready to be involved.
And just a bit of housekeeping on Josh Townsend. How close is he to getting back to fitness?
You caught me a little bit there. I just saw Andros in the corridor. He's working incredibly hard, Andros, to get fit. That's the sort of professional he is, and that's been an eye-opener for me to come and see how hard he works. It's been impressive. I can't give you an exact date, I'm afraid. I know he's got a meeting with a specialist in the next couple of weeks, which is I think a 6-month kind of assessment to see where he's at. We're hoping after that he can start to progress and come outside a little bit with the team and all those things in the right time frame.